We are going.
Heaven knows where we are going.
But we know we will.
And we'll get there.
Heaven knows how we will get there.
But
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 we
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 know
know we
we
will.
will.
Hmm.
That was a little messy.
Sounded a bit odd, didn't it, to you guys? Like
Yeah.
didn't quite gel,
Gel.
right? Oh, oops. Oh well. Dallas, why is that? I mean, I've heard so many great concerts on, on TV, and why is it that we're not able to do that?
Yeah, well, I think we all know you're all wonderful singers, and there's the limitations of the technology. Unfortunately, we've got wonderful tools. Zoom is allowing us to gather in a lot of really great ways to overcome the distance between us, but singing together, singing simultaneously, singing in harmony is something that we don't have the technology for. The lag and the latency between us prevents us from singing together at the same time.
It feels like one of the just massive changes that's happening for all of us. And kind of as we kick off this conversation amongst the four of us, how are we all contending, and each of us contending with this new normal for, I guess, ourselves and the congregation, if you're willing to go there?
Well, one thing, that occurs to me is, we're all trying to get to know a new medium very quickly. And it's actually the whole world is getting to know this new medium, and it's not something we've really dealt with before. So on the one hand, it looks a lot like broadcast television, but it's not. So, we'll sort of expect seamless audio, seamless switching, having exactly the right camera angle and all of that. And it probably won't happen, at least not with a lot of trial and error. And neither is it live speech and performance or anything on a stage. So it's really new. And I love that reading in the interim time, because this is a time of exploration and just often feeling a little bit groundless in something that we haven't done before. And it matches this time of the congregation, when we're going through so many transitions. So perhaps it kind of suits it in an interesting way. Angela, I wonder what your thoughts are on this.
I am really longing for and missing some of those things that anchored us when we were in the building. That early arrival time. If you're among the folks who arrive early in the morning, maybe you feel that swell of our lifeblood coming together as members of the choir trickle in, the folks, the greeters and folks who are at the front getting set up. I used to love to hear musicians walk down the hall with snippets of what we were going to hear later, and little meetings at my doorway, coffee urns rattling, and guessing which voice of one of the kiddos I could hear before I rounded the corner and came upon them. And I'm really grieving who's not with us today, who's no longer able to be with us. But I also know that we've become more diffuse. I can feel the spirit of what was in our building, and I wonder if you all can feel it too. We've been doing this since 1845, and there have been many times before when we have hung together, and this is one of those times, and I really feel that lifeblood just in arteries and veins and capillaries right now.
That's a good point about the longevity of the congregation and being 175 years almost as of July that we've been around. And I don't know how they came through the 1918 pandemic without Zoom. And I think we're still trying to figure that out, obviously. And if anyone had told me 6 months ago that we would be doing all of our services online and that I would be leading services with my slippers on and a cat at my feet, I wouldn't have expected that. It's hard to kind of wrap your head around it. And yet there are blessings that are coming from this, but many, many challenges too. And I'm struck by the 1,000 little losses that all of us feel in not being together. I miss the choir. I miss live music happening in real time with me in the same room. The secret is that's what I go to services for on Sunday, not the preaching, but it's the music. So I'm really missing that piece, and grateful for the ways that we're adapting that to this format. I'm also really missing the receiving line. there's so much that happens in that 15 or 20 minutes in my life each week. It's probably the most important 15 minutes of my week. And just getting to see people and having those moments of touching arms or hugging or just the 3 words that tell me how a person is really doing or follows up on a conversation or tells me what I need to do to kind of move some project along. I'm missing all of that because it's, for me, it's this major feedback loop in congregational life. And so I'm sitting with all the 1,000 little losses and knowing that we're all experiencing those in this time. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely lamenting the loss of gathering to sing together, both in service and with the choir. I'm thankful that we've got wonderful musicians and a breadth who've been able to contribute to services over the last few months, but not having that opportunity to gather with the choir weekly on Thursday has been a real loss. And personally, I know for many of those singers in the choir, but for myself as well, the musicians that shine at this time online over Zoom are those brilliant solo performing artists, and that isn't part of my identity as a musician, as a musical leader. And so that loss of choir being together in community, singing in harmony in the moment, and facilitating that and having the bonds of that community tightened in that way, I'm really lamenting that loss. It's heartening to see the ways that we can grow and adapt and change, though, and we have wonderful people contributing in many ways. So trying to find, the glimmers of hope that come through this disruption. I think that the disruption itself is an opportunity. And when we have an opportunity put upon us to change, to reset, it's an opportunity for new ideas, for new direction, new possibilities. And so during this time, I'm really hoping that we seek to connect with one another in new ways, utilizing tools that we haven't used before, gaining proficiency with those and sharing that with one another, and to go deeper in the existing relationships that we have as a congregation in new ways, and then also broaden our reach, because moving online, we're free from the corporeal and geographical restrictions that have bound us in the past.
I agree, Dallas. Those are so many positive things, so many positive aspects, and I want us to keep reflecting about those as well. But before we completely leave the losses, I want to mention all of our front of house and hospitality volunteers. Many of you are with us today online and have been present with us in other ways during this several week period. However, we know you're missing, and we miss you in those roles where you greeted people, served coffee, put out hymn books, and helped people find their way to their seats, gathered for groups. All of the ways that people were in person together. And that has been a really important part of our congregational life. And even though you're with us here online, I'm missing that. I'm missing your presence in that way very much.
Similar for me, all of the people who make our religious education ministries tick, children's teachers, youth advisors, OWL facilitators. I'm really grieving that we were interrupted in the middle of completing OWL grade 5, 6, and 7, 8. All of the families and kids who were doing such great work together, the folks who were leading them, and knowing that the lead at the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association, Melanie Davis, has implored us not to carry that ministry online for safety's sake. So standing in that waiting place of figuring out how do we move forward on that. And also for our 4 new adult OWL facilitators, Jen, Julie, Alessa, Sarah, who had just gone to training when all of this came to be, and who are so eager to bring their ministries to our young adults, and older adults. I do have some hope that we will see some online capability with that in the future.
Eruption feels like a good line for a good way of describing this feeling. I feel like we've had so much momentum, and sort of what we've been building over many, many years wants to propel itself in a certain way. And without being able to do that, there's a lot of grief attached to that for a lot of us. I'm also mindful how, and I was grateful that someone lifted up in the joys and sorrows, just coming to acceptance, because acceptance feels like such an important stage of moving into resilience in all of this, and being able to take in what is and just accept it at face value and then figure out what to do with that, I think is one of the great spiritual pieces of work that any of us will ever face. And I think as a community and as individuals, I want all of us and myself to just be compassionate and gracious with one another as we move through these stages. Something I was reading yesterday was talking about that we're now in the stage of irritability. And I'm noticing that a little bit in myself and other people. There's some crankiness, some cabin fever. We're fatigued by this. And I think part of the work of acceptance is it's spiritual growth work that we each need to work on, because it is what will carry us through this for the long haul. And it does look like this is going to be the long haul, especially for communities like ours, religious communities. The things that we do when we come together are the kinds of things that actually help to spread this virus. And so I think congregations, including ours, will be some of the last organizations to go back to work when the time comes. And so it means that we have quite a while to sit with this and learn to be together in different ways. And I think to do the spiritual work we need to sustain ourselves through that. That's my hope for all of us, is that we can actually do that.
I want to say camp as well. I'm so heartbroken that Unicamp for kids and families, for our kiddos who were ready this year to do sleepaway camp for the first time, for teens who were looking forward to their LIT or CIT or summer job this year, all of the things that we've had to let go of and grieve. At least thank goodness the Easter Bunny and Tooth Fairy weren't canceled this year. I'm happy that
that's true. Essential workers, right?
Essential workers, right on. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to circle back a little to that theme of acceptance and also living in the uncomfortable feelings. You know, I notice that feelings of acceptance and non-acceptance, and I'm not just talking about life in the congregation or my job now. I'm talking about the wider world as well. You know, the feelings of being able to reconcile this and also being deeply uncomfortable with it, they will come and they will go, you know, even over the course of a day. So I don't know if we'll ever sort of achieve kind of perfect grace and acceptance with this. I mean, actually, maybe some of us will, I hope so. But if you don't, if you're not feeling that way, I would invite you to simply trust that you're still in the place that you need to be, even if it feels deeply uncomfortable, to kind of hang in and sit with it and, you know, maybe reach out to someone to be able to talk it through and wait for a while and notice when even small times of peace and acceptance and equanimity emerge, like those little spring buds, right? Like they might be very small. Honor them when they happen. And if they disappear under another, you know, a bunch of fallen leaves again, don't worry, you know, they're still there. That's what the spiritual growth is about. It's not neat and tidy. It's not linear. It's not, we're going to climb this ladder and we're going to get, because we'll get there. Heaven knows. Yes, well, we'll get, I don't know if we ever get somewhere exactly. It's more of a process, an ongoing process of adaptation, which I think we're all undergoing right now. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Yeah.
That non-linear nature, Lynn, I really like you bringing this back to that. I think that's one of the things that is most challenging, that we're going to undergo waves of kind of victory and defeat, and yet there isn't going to be a victory day, that day when we have beaten this thing and everything returns to normal. I guess one of the things that maybe we can do is kind of have intention around what that might look like when the feeling is close to that. I think speaking with other congregations, arts organizations that are trying to forecast what's going to happen. I think we're going to need to be very intentional about making an event, making a celebration that people can get behind to feel that we're able to move forward, because it's not going to be a specific time or date. And so congregationally, I think there are things that we can look forward as well to celebrate our return, even though it's not going to be crystal clear how that's going to occur.
Yeah, I love how you speak about the waves, because one of the things I'm really noticing and feeling challenged by is this, on one hand saying we're all in it together, which is true in one respect, but the idea that while we may be in the same boat, we're not all in the same storm. And so being gentle with ourselves and with others, and stopping every so often to just remember that for some of us, it's only sprinkling. Lockdown life is peaceful and maybe a bit of a pause. For others who are near to us, it's stormy. It's really scary. Our sleep is disrupted. Our peace of mind is out the window. And for some, it's a hurricane. This is life-changing. We're not sure that we can hold it together. So I just want to say, let's please remember to bring all of the kindness and whatever forms of redistribution of resources we can as everyone rides these waves.
And with that, I would add to not assume that your experience is everyone's experience. I mean, you said that, but to not project what you're experiencing as universal for everyone, because that certainly isn't the case. And I've seen some awkward conversations amongst us in other gatherings in recent weeks, where just aware of those tensions that some people were kind of sitting on alone because someone else's experience that they were articulating was so at odds with theirs. Yeah, hard to kind of hold that diversity, especially when it's not easily witnessed by us all.
Yeah, and we're all grieving. I've noticed in congregational life in the past that when any one of us is going into a grief time, others can gather around and maybe stand in the gap. And right now we're all grieving. And so there's just not that same opportunity. We all have muddled brains and hurting bodies. And at the same time as really needing to get proximate, we don't have that opportunity right now. So really hoping that we'll be gentle with each other.
I want to lift up also that a lot of people among us and in our circles are really called right now to serve the world in various ways, to serve other communities, to really reach out to people who have different and more immediate needs. And I think that's something to really encourage and to recognize that, this is a ministry. You see the ministry team in front of you. There are many ministries here within this congregation and within the group of people who are assembled here. So want to honor the different ministries, the ways that you are serving your community, serving the wider world, serving the earth. And to hope, one of my hopes is that this time be an invitation and perhaps a way forward, a few steps forward in the directions we are called to go to change this world. This gives us this opportunity. We're on this pause. Are there things that we can do to hope? Are there things that we can do to usher in the changes that are needed? Perhaps we have an opportunity now that we did not have before, and we're learning how to sacrifice in a way that we did not know. So can we make the most of that? And everyone's going to find their own way to do that. Our individual ministries and callings are specific. What one person can do, the proximity that they are in to what they can do is different than the proximity someone else is in. But I would just invite us all to be aware of how we can be more proximate with the needs of the world and the needs of the earth and others and other people.
I'm just thinking about how the challenge right now is that we are asked to physically distance ourselves from one another. And so part of the doing service may not be actually tangible, overt, action-oriented kind of things, but maybe, one of the most loving and caring things we can do for the world and other people right now is to stay at home and be of service as an act of allowing that distance to flatten the curve. But our doing that can be make this time a time of gestation and just waiting for the kinds of things and doing the work that we might be doing internally to be more productive on the other side of this in a way that does serve. And so it's, it's kind of challenging. Our mission is to seek, connect, and serve. And hopefully there's enough seeking going on Sunday mornings, or some seeking, and then connecting in the ways that we can throughout the week. But the serve part feels like the hardest one to wrap my head around right now. And I'm mindful that part of it is the physical piece. Trying to find ways to do that is a challenge, because I feel like people are coming to us looking for that, and it's not yet clear the way those will manifest. But I'm also really clear that that's not necessarily the work of the staff. Other people can come up with great ideas and put ideas forward too. So why don't we pivot to talk about, like, what are the things that are inspiring us and calling us toward hope? What are the things that are carrying us as we think about the congregation in the future, and where's the seed of hope for each of us?
I'm just noticing, that as we've been talking, the chat has been continuing along beside us. I haven't been able to keep up with it because it's, again, that sense of many focuses at the same time. But I think that is a source of hope. I think that this experience has shaken us up, again, back to that John O'Donohue reading of the loosening of the roots. It's shaken us up in a way that there's a different kind of conversation and interchange going on that might not seem organized at some, in some ways. And it may seem sometimes that a seed is planted and it goes into the atmosphere, and who knows where it's going to land. And sometimes that doesn't work with our sense of wanting to structure and control everything. But I think there's a great deal of hope in that. And so next week I'll be preaching, I think the title will be Mothering the World. It'll be Mother's Day. But to look at that kind of ongoing co-creativity that's going on, it feels like that's huge right now. The co-creation of something new is something that's extremely hopeful to me.
I want to say two things about what's hopeful for me. That the equal and opposite of much of what we're grieving holds so much hope in it, that we're more accessible than ever in many ways. Not to minimize the losses of what we've had to give up in all of this as a community of faith, but folks aren't waiting for Wheel-Trans anymore. We're not out hunting for parking spaces and feeling stressed as we land in our seat at First. We can come to evening things so much more easily because we're not fighting our way to get to the building. Folks near and far are able to join us. And I think the organic nature of the community that makes up First, I have so much faith in just those seeds of hope, those sprouts that I know are already coming, of ways that we'll do everything from celebrating birthdays at home in new and novel ways, or anniversaries, to things that we'll do at First, to ways that maybe rather than children gathering in their separate rooms, we will have a new ministry to families, that families will gather together, do some work together, and that's a new way for us to approach things. And the organic possibility that lies, sorry, choir folks, in us being able to borrow Dallas for a while, and for him to be seconded to some other things. I'm really excited about some possibilities that lie in our being able to work in different ways together in this interim time.
Dallas, did you want to jump in there, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I think it's been said by others and myself earlier, but I think that the main thing is to, and of course it's challenging, chaos is not for everyone, but when there's an opportunity for things to be different, to seek and hold opportunity thinking in that, and envision what's possible, and envision what is possible on the other side, because we are freed from all of the things that bind us, for better or worse. And I think there's great hope in seeking new direction and new ways to connect with one another.
I'm finding myself hopeful around the possibility of this great disruption teaching us ways of being more resilient that will help carry us through not just this time, but all the years of our lives, but mindful that our congregation is migrating to a new space in a couple of years, and that's going to ask a lot of us. And I feel like there's a great opportunity here for us to, none of us would have invited this, but to learn how to be resilient now before we go through that. I think it'll be great training for us and building muscle memory of knowing that we can still be connected and we can change. You know, there's a joke among staff and leaders in the congregation that change happens at the speed of church in congregational life, which is tacitly understood to be slow. And that's not been the case of the last 2 months for us. And that actually gives me hope that we can find new footings quickly and adapt as we evolve in these new ways, still carrying what is of value and enduring value in our congregation into the future. So that 175 years from now, there'll still be a community gathering to seek, connect, and serve the world. As we bring this conversation to a close, is there anything any one of you wants to say before we wrap up?
I feel like anticipation is back, whether it's waiting for your bread to rise. Guilty became a bread baker during this, or anticipating what we will become inwardly or as a community. May it be something good that rises. We rise again.
And may each of you not miss the opportunity for the personal growth and spiritual growth that this allows us. Whatever your situations, whether you're living with your family in a different way right now, whether you're living with yourself in a different way right now, as we're all relating to the world differently right now, you know, let's not, and I'm speaking to myself here, you know, let's not just skip over all this, hoping, you know, waiting to get to the next thing, waiting to get back to things as they were. Let's recognize the gift that this time gives us and try to take what we can from it.
Amen to that.
We are going.
Heaven knows where we are going.
But we know we will.
And we'll get there.
Heaven knows how we will get there.
But we know we will.